Good afternoon, Ben and June, members of the Kaler family, honorable guests, and ladies and gentlemen. I'm Larry Danielson, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to this celebration of Ben Kaler's music and career. Over the years, Ben has enjoyed many accolades. He's been called Winkler's unique treasure and Manitoba's guitar maestro. Most of us here today know Ben as a friend. Some of you know him as a music colleague, and a special few of you know him as family, husband, father, and grandfather. Ben, you've given much to many of us, and however we might know you, we've gathered today to say you light up our lives. We thank you, and we thank you for the music. All of the Kaler children are here today, including Bernard, who has flown in from Toronto. And I'm going to call on Dennis to bring words of welcome from the family, and then he and Bernard will play our first concert piece. Dennis.
On behalf of the Kaler family, I'd like to welcome you all here to our tribute to Ben Kaler, Dad to me, Father. The tribute, You Light Up My Life, was chosen not only because of Dad's wonderful arrangement and performance of that song, which we just heard over the PA, but because of the lives he has touched with his music. The invitation was open to anyone who has been touched by Ben and his music, and so here we are. All of us have experienced his influence and benefited from his music. If I may, I'm going to share a bit of how I have been touched by his music with Dad and with you all. I was fortunate to have a front row seat. Guitar music was always a part of our home. Some of my first memories, Dad, as a preschooler, I still have vivid memories of you and your guitar entertaining me and Brad at bedtime, singing and playing the silly kids' songs of the day, and I think I still know all the words to There's a Hole in the Bottom of the Sea. I recall being a little bit jealous of my older brother Brad, who, as he began receiving instructions on a 4-string ukulele, and I recall how it felt when a few years later it was my turn. I remember marveling at you, Dad, street-side during Old Time Valley days, wailing up a storm with Arnold Brown and your cousin Bill on that old Baldwin guitar that's sitting back there. I remember cool summer nights as a young boy, lying in bed at the end of the day, listening to you as you mastered your transition to the classical guitar. Memories of the Alhambra and your amazing tremolo always take me back there. I remember being impressed by your fun arrangement of Windy and Warm, and being determined to learn it on my own by ear and play it just like you did. I remember your incredible patience with your students, and the odd time what happened when it ran out. Right, Greg? I remember two of our children, Colby and Ashley, as young students learning a craft and getting in some quality grandpa time with you. I've always enjoyed how your Christmas music arrangements played in church marked Christmas Eve in a special way. Later on, performing Der Friedens First on classical guitar with you and other members of the family became a tradition that for me and many will be forever associated with the mood of Christmas Eve. I marvel when I look around the community and I see how many people's image of the guitar has been elevated by your influence and who've gone on to utilize what they've learned in many different ways and in many different genres. Dad and his music teaching has been much more than just about the music. Some of you, his students, have commented to me how you've learned more than how to play the guitar through the experience of Dad's guitar lessons, which I can identify with. Through his lessons, I learned that good things like guitar skills can come a little at a time, with discipline and perseverance. I learned that creativity can benefit by first learning technique. Dad always said, first learn the right way to do it and then go do whatever you want to do. But first you're learning the right way. Keep your thumb behind the fingerboard, no picks. Warren. I learned that music is a language of emotions. I learned that music is a form of communication and is a great way to reach out to people. I learned to be more comfortable in front of people, and even when I wasn't comfortable in front of people, to do my best. And I learned that making a mistake while everyone is watching you is not the end of the world. And I continue to do so today. I learned not to be overconfident, and I learned the value of preparation and practice. I learned the feeling of accomplishment when I had technically mastered a new piece and could finally perform it while focusing only on the dynamics and the message in the music. I could go on, but I won't, because we have a great agenda in front of us. And the next thing up, I'm going to be joining my younger brother Bernard, him and I have learned a piece at distance. He's in Toronto, I'm out here. And today is the first time we're going to be performing it together. It's a piece by Fernando Sor called the Encouragement Opus number 34, and it also has a particular significance to me. As a young man, having recently moved out of the nest, Mom and Dad reached out to me for a standing invitation for a weekly supper date, followed by a music session with Dad, something that I hadn't been doing for a few years. That winter, we focused on this piece. The entire piece is about 10 minutes long and contains some extremely challenging passages. Dad and I made it our goal to learn it and be able to play it without the sheet music, which we did. But I think it took us the better part of an entire winter, and it was a lot of fun. So today, Bern and I will be performing just the cantable section of that piece for you and for Dad. Bern?
Fernando Sor, the composer of the piece that we've just heard, was a popular teacher as well as a composer. So Ben, you've followed in his footsteps. I've also learned that many of Sor's great compositions were done during his retirement, so we hope that you continue to follow his example. I'll call now on our MLA for Morden and Winkler, Mr. Cameron Friesen, who brings words of appreciation on behalf of the province.
Good afternoon, Ben and June, Kaler family, Mayor Martin Harder, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, friends, former students, and parents who paid the bills for those students all the years in those guitar lessons. It's my pleasure to be here this afternoon with all of you. Bernard and Dennis, that was lovely to open the afternoon just now. You know, it's amazing when I think about Ben that a young boy who bought a $12 guitar from the Eaton's catalog and an instruction guide to go with it, how to learn the guitar, could have leveraged such a humble beginning, but a love for music and a tremendous acumen for the guitar into a 40-plus year career that would touch so many lives, make an indelible mark on our community here in Winkler and beyond, but the reverberations of that are felt much further. Ben, you have been a great advocate for the arts and for music education. You have taught so many people. And there are so many people here today to join us to evidence that. But I was not always a booster of Ben Kaler because when I was taking piano back in the early 70s, my brother got to take the guitar and I had to take the piano. And I thought that the guitar was a much cooler instrument. It also looked easier because I had to play 88 keys and there was only 6 strings on this thing. But I remember, talking to Rob. Rob's here this afternoon, one of Ben's many students, and I talked to him about that one time and said, it always seemed cooler. And he says, oh, no. He says, that was all work. The cool stuff, what was coming out of Dennis's bedroom upstairs as he was on the electric guitar, he said, that was the cool stuff. So it's all in the eye of the beholder. Ben and June, congratulations on such a legacy of music. Best wishes for whatever comes next. On behalf of my colleagues in the Manitoba Legislature, I congratulate you. I'll leave you with a plaque later on that simply says, it's my pleasure to extend congratulations to Ben Kaler on the occasion of 40 years of performing and teaching classical guitar. Thank you for your many contributions to music and the arts in our community and throughout the province of Manitoba.
Thank you, Cam. As Cam noted, he is a musician and also a former music teacher, and we'll hear again from him later in the program. Ben has lived in the city of Winkler for nearly 50 years and, as I've noted already, is regarded as one of its treasures. Mr. Martin Harder, Mayor of the city of Winkler, is here to bring words of appreciation on behalf of the community.
Well, good afternoon, Ben and June, the Kaler family, many students who have been influenced by the music of Ben. It has been absolutely a pleasure to be a part of your life, and I've had the privilege of living in Winkler for 35 years. Although I do have to admit, prior to me moving here, I told my mom and dad that this was the last place I'd ever moved to, and so far I have been true to my word. So this will be the last place where I will be. I'm just so delighted to be able to be here on behalf of the City of Winkler to bring greetings on behalf of Council, on behalf of the many residents of the community who have been influenced by your music. And I know, Brad, you are well aware of my position of thinking that a community resource officer is supposed to be the next thing that we get in the City of Winkler. And I have a suggestion for you. Next time, every time somebody comes to spend a little time in your cell in the City Hall there, I would suggest you call your dad up and to give him at least an hour or two of lessons, because I know it would make a difference in that young person's life. I know you've made a difference in the lives of many young people, including my son, who took a year of lessons from you as well. And he also thought it was much cooler to go into electric guitar, and so he must have been listening to you, Brad, upstairs too. But the city of Winkler has been influenced by your music. The people who are here represent people who have been influenced by your music. I believe that culture in general, whether it's in the city of Winkler or anywhere else, is better because of music. And so when I look at the contributions of people to our community and I look at somebody who has been involved in music, it has been a tremendous change in people's lives. You cannot be miserable playing music. I can tell you that. There's a sense of joy that you have from within. And there's a sense of joy that we have as participants who listen and enjoy music just simply from your contribution. So from that, I want to say thank you for your contribution. And Cam, I have to ask you, you did say 40 years, and I'm not sure where I got this from, but my plaque says 50. So either it's going to be 50 today or it's 40, but mine says 50. If it's not right, I guess, Ben, you got your work cut out for you for another 10 years. But City of Winkler is pleased to recognize Ben Kaler for his 50 years of musical contribution to this community and celebrate this day together. Thank you for the invitation, and God bless you as you continue in your retirement to contribute to the musical joy of this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Harder. Down through the decades, Ben has taught guitar to hundreds of students, and we are pleased to have a number of them return today to perform in this tribute concert. Jonathan and Joshua Mates began their lessons with Ben in elementary school and then continued their studies with him for a number of years. Today, they'll be playing a duet called Entrada. It was composed by Christoph Graupner and arranged by Ben.
Mr. Kaler and his wife as well. They have influenced our family as well. Most of my siblings were actually in kindergarten with Miss June, and we took 8 years of lessons, and I still regret that I stopped so early. I remember wanting to stop. As long as I can remember, we had lessons on Tuesday at 4 o'clock. And as I went into junior high, we had soccer practice on Tuesday at 4 o'clock. So I never really understood why I had to go to guitar instead of soccer. So I decided to quit in high school. I regret it. I promised to play on, though, and I have. And today we want to play this piece. Thank you.
Our next performer, Thomas Conkey, started playing guitar in grade 6 music class. And when the school year ended, he wanted to continue his learning, so he started lessons with Ben. He continued for the next 6 years until he moved to Winnipeg. And though his lessons ended, his practicing has not, and he still plays his guitar every day. Today, Thomas will play Zombie by the Irish rock group The Cranberries, and it's arranged for guitar by Jonas Leffert. Welcome, Thomas.
Sorry, guys. Just a bit nervous.
Giuseppe Ferrato is an Italian guitarist and composer. His Morenita do Brazil is a samba dance tune, and two of Ben's grandchildren, Ashley and Colby Kaler, will play it for us now. When we attend a concert or a recital, typically we see a confident artist take the stage and play beautifully. We don't see the hundreds of hours of practice that have preceded that performance, and we don't see the struggling apprenticeship, the difficult time when critics when critics question the wisdom of the musician's career choice. We also don't see the pivotal moments when the performer chooses the music that comes to define his reputation. So today, for a few minutes, we'll take you behind the scenes in Ben's career, including the practice, the apprenticeship, and some of those pivotal moments. And we'll focus particularly on the learning stages, and then teaching, arranging, performing, recording, and reflecting. In country school, when Ben was 10 years old, his teacher played a guitar, and Ben resolved that that was something that he wished to learn. That summer, Ben hoed weeds in a neighbor's beet field and saved enough money, as Cam already mentioned, to buy a $12 guitar from Eaton's. The guitar came with a book that showed him how to tune the guitar and to form chords on the fingerboard. The only problem was that the strings were too high off the fingerboard to give a very clean sound, and Ben solved that problem by deepening the notches in the nut. Then he was off and playing, and he discovered that he had a good ear. Once he heard a tune, he could find the notes on the guitar and play them. Ben's uncle Bill came across an ad in from a Chicago musical supply store for a Spanish guitar method course published by Nick Maniloff. They split the costs, and the book helped Ben to learn music and also to use his fingers instead of a pick. However, finding time to practice brought other challenges. To Ben's father, Abram, guitar playing was not a productive activity. When you lived on a poor farm, what counted was physical work, and Ben needed to be certain that all of his chores were done before he turned to making music. And besides, the guitar was associated with dancing and drinking. It was sometimes called the devil's instrument. Like many boys, Ben's education came to an early end, and instead of continuing on with high school, he was expected to work on the farm. In time, he left home and worked in Alberta as a welder's apprentice on a pipeline. That sounds like it could be a contemporary story. Later, he became a foreman for public works in Altona. And in 1958, he married Helen Harms. And then in the following years, they had two boys, Brad and Dennis. Ben's interest, however, in the guitar continued. And he listened to the popular country musicians of his day, Wilf Carter, Elton Britt, Hank Snow, Hank Williams, and others. In 1957, CFAM radio was launched as Manitoba's farm and good music station, and Ben knew a boy from a competing baseball team who worked part-time at the station, Elmer Hildebrand. Elmer let Ben come into the station and use an off-air studio and play music. And so from that, Ben learned many new tunes, and he learned new guitar playing methods. He also played with a country music band. One of the musicians who fascinated Ben was the famous Chet Atkins. Listening to him play, it sounded as if there were two guitars, and Ben soon worked to master that technique. And he also heard Chet Atkins play a tune called Malaguena. It's a popular dance tune, and that introduced Ben to the world of Spanish flamenco. And now we're going to fast forward a little bit in Ben's journey from the player of country music to a performer of flamenco and classical music. He switched back from the electric guitar to acoustic, and he continued to learn new techniques. One day when Ben was here in Winkler, he met Arnold Brown, who owned the Winkler Music Shop, and he and Arnold and Ben's cousin Bill eventually formed a band called The Notables, and they played around the region. There's a further connection in that Arnold Brown also served on the Winkler Town Council, and in 1967 he encouraged Ben to apply for a job of foreman of public works here in Winkler, and so that led to Ben's relocation here. While he continued to work by day for the town, now city, he also came to be known as a very talented guitarist, and he was invited to play for CFAM. In 1966, he recorded a number of songs for airplay on Christmas Eve. And it was so popular that, with the listeners, that the station helped Ben to turn those recordings into an album called Christmas at Home. The LP sold for $4.98 a copy, and 7-year-old Brad accompanied Ben on one of the songs. Ben's artistry had come a long way from the simple country western songs, and again, his playing sounded like two guitars, but Ben had mastered techniques quite different from Chet Atkins. His right hand was playing both the melody and the harmony, and it took hundreds of hours of practice for his right hand to develop the necessary speed and strength and stamina. The Christmas at Home album, as you'll see, has a warm seasonal look, but there is a sad story behind it. The armchair is empty. 2 years before this album was released, Ben's wife, Helen, died suddenly of a ruptured aneurysm, and as Ben provided Christmas music and joy for others, he was a lonely widower with 2 small children. Our next focus is on the teaching. Ben's growing reputation led to more and more teaching opportunities, including evening classes at the Kronstall Consolidated School. And there he got to know one of the elementary teachers, June Bergen, and their relationship blossomed. Ben and June were married in the summer of 1968, and in the years that followed, the Kaler family added 2 more children, Bernard and Karen. Ben and June also made a significant decision. We often hear the advice, don't give up your day job, but Ben did. He resigned from his work with the town of Winkler, giving up the security of the salary and the pension benefits, and he became a full-time music teacher. As you can imagine, it wasn't easy. Ben worked long and hard, daytime and evenings, and he traveled where he had to. He taught in community schools, and a couple of nights a week he taught at Yamaha in Winnipeg. He also taught at home in his basement, while June tried to keep 4 growing kids quiet during the lessons. Today we know the value of self-directed learning, but some people can be obsessed with credentials. And while Ben was teaching in one school, a staff member objected to having someone teaching music without formal music training. He made Ben's life and work difficult, but Ben turned the problem to advantage. He enrolled in the Royal Conservatory of Toronto, studying with Robert Benedict and Norbert Kraft. And in 1977, he completed his performing diploma, the first guitarist from Manitoba to do so. In fact, that year there were 189 students who graduated with their piano diplomas, but there was only one guitarist, and that was our Ben. A year later, he completed his pedagogy certificate, and he also joined the Manitoba Registered Music Teachers Association. Then no one could question Ben's credentials, but Ben didn't rest on his laurels. He also studied at the Banff School of Fine Arts, the Milwaukee Conservatory, and the MacPhail Center of the Arts in Minneapolis. Ben is not a name dropper, but he has learned from the best, and his teachers include Norbert Kraft, Robert Benedict, Eli Kasner, Alirio Diaz, John Holmquist, and Peter Boehm, to know several. If you follow the world of classical guitar, I'm sure you'll recognize some of those names. As Ben's teaching practice grew, he was working with some students in the community and community schools, and with others in the basement quarters of his home. But in 1978, he built a studio onto his home, assisted by his father and his father-in-law, and on at least one occasion by the renowned baby doctor Cornelius Wiebe. Some of you may recall seeing the bumper sticker. As an English teacher, I always enjoyed this one. If you can read this, thank a teacher. You might have seen the variation as well. If you can read this, thank a music teacher. And today we'll add one more twist. If you can play this, thank Ben Kaler. Those of you who teach piano or orchestral strings know that you have an extensive range of graded materials from which your students can learn. The same was not true for classical guitar, and certainly not when Ben began teaching. So hand in hand with his teaching, Ben has had to create and adapt a wide variety of music for his students, from the beginner to the advanced levels. I don't have an exact account, but over the years, Ben has arranged hundreds of pieces of music, both for his students and also for his performances. And Jessica has compiled at the display that was in the front. It'll be in the fellowship hall afterwards. Take a look in the music stand there. You'll see some of the wide range of music that Ben has arranged. And the work of arranging is more than just the high-end creative work. It can be a very slow, laborious process, taking time and energy to write out all of the scores. Ben was an early adopter of computing tools and of composition software. He started desktop publishing his arrangements using Dr. T's music software on a DOS-based computer. And he became so adept at his use of the program that the company recruited him as a beta tester. He contributed a number of suggestions to the software developers as they developed their product, and you'll see he's recognized in their instruction manual for the work that he had done. Very versatile. Many of us have known Ben as a performer, and musicians often face the hard choice of whether they'll work primarily as a teacher or a performer. Though Ben's emphasis has been on his teaching, he has also been a frequent performer, as most of us know and have enjoyed. As I paged through his scrapbook and through many news clippings, I've identified at least 20 different kinds of venues where Ben has played, and we list some along with pictures of him in some of those varied places. Some of you have had the good fortune to study guitar with Ben, but I think most of us have had the pleasure of hearing him perform in one of this long list of settings. One of the most colorful performances was with Carmen de Torres, a Spanish singer and flamenco dancer from Seville. In the mid-1980s, Ben performed with her and the Andalusian dancers at both the Gas Station Theatre and at Manitoba Theatre Centre. Now, we've already mentioned Ben's first recording, Christmas at Home, but that was not the only recording he's done. Over the years, he made 3 more in classical or in cassette format. I recall one day I saw Ben with a bulge in his shirt pocket, and I asked him if he'd taken up smoking. And instead, he pulled out a cassette tape. It was the first demo copy that he had gotten from the studio, and it was of it for his hymns on the classical guitar. Each of the tapes that he made has its own story, and you're welcome to share those with Ben. I'll take time for just one. When Ben launched the tape for Fireside Christmas, Don Orchard, who is Manitoba's health minister, was present, and he made the comment that Ben's music, quote, may do more to soothe troubled souls than our healthcare system. So, Ben, maybe you should have added music therapy to your resume. Ben's recordings are not available on CD, but if you don't have tapes or a tape player, they're now available at no cost by digital download at Ben's website, and you'll find the address for that on the back of the concert program. Or if, like me, you still have a cassette player and would like a keepsake tape, June has said that you can phone or email them, and they'll discuss getting a copy to you. Most of us know that music can change us. And for a guitar player like Ben, it can even change his body. After years of playing, Ben's hands have adapted to the needs of the guitar, especially his right hand with his carefully kept nails that pick the strings. So if you're shaking hands with him today, please go gently. Ben has owned a number of guitars since he bought that first one from Eaton's. His current concert instrument is a Grand Concert Yamaha, and as concert instruments go, it's still modestly priced, but its cost was about 100 times more than the first one. And that's fitting because Ben's playing is 100 times better. Ben says that his is a wonderful gift from above, but we all know how diligently he has worked to develop that God-given gift. When Ben looks back, he says that if he has one regret, it is that he could not spend as much time with his family as he would have liked. He was incredibly busy, teaching, practicing, performing, studying, and arranging music. And we are reminded that the sacrifices that he made were also borne by the family, June, Brad, Dennis, Bernard, and Karen. And we thank you today, each one of you, for sharing Ben with us. My focus in this sketch has been on Ben's career, but we all know that in the Kaler household, music has been a family affair. Throughout Ben's career, June has stood with him, providing support and encouragement in wonderful ways. And as you can see from our program today and from many pictures in the Kaler photo albums, one of the family bonds has been making music together. Ben, your life story is both interesting and inspiring. It reminds us that wherever we start and whatever limitations we face, we can go far. And when we encounter obstacles and adversities, if we believe in ourselves and work hard, we can overcome them. Throughout your career, you have been versatile, innovative, risk-taking, disciplined, and highly productive. And your legacy continues, both in your music and that of your students. I'm going to conclude this sketch with the best words possible: to be continued. Your story is still being written. Though you've retired from teaching and performing, we know that you continue to make music, and we look forward to each new arrangement that you produce. Thank you. Niccolò Paganini is another Italian composer. He's best known for his virtuoso violin pieces, but he also was a guitarist. And our next piece, Sonata Concertata, combines the two in a duet. The guitar will be played by Ben's son Bernard, and on the violin is Rochelle Drudge, co-director of the Douglas School of Music.
We've heard much today about how Ben has been an inspiration for family and for students, and I believe also for fellow music teachers like myself. I've known Ben for about 20 years since we've moved to Winkler, and there's a few things that I do today that I find he was the inspiration for. Ben, you probably don't even know this, but seeing a picture of your notation software there, you were the first person that I ever saw use that, I believe. I remember asking you to arrange a piece for Kayla probably 15 years ago, and came to your house and saw you clicking each note into place and thinking, oh my goodness, that's incredibly meticulous and you need a lot of patience to do that. But now I find I'm using it myself, not nearly as much as you do perhaps. And the other thing is the picture of Ben's studio. As soon as I saw that many years ago, I was inspired by that and thought, oh, I'd love to teach at home someday. And I just finished my first week teaching in my new studio at the back of our house, very similar to what Ben has. So I consider you the inspiration behind some of these things. Thank you very much. Bernard and I are going to play a piece. Actually, Ben, you and I tried to put together some violin guitar duets a number of years ago. Never got them together, but you're the inspiration behind us putting them together, so you're still the inspiration behind this today. Thanks to Bernard for playing with me today.
I'm going to say, first off, thank you. You've been an inspiration to me, and why I say thank you first off is because when I have a microphone in front of me, I've been known to put my foot in my mouth. But the tone is my heartfelt thanks. You've been an inspiration to me. Ben, this is a pick. I was more interested in vocals and writing songs than playing, but if it weren't for your instruction, I wouldn't have gone where I've gone. And this Winkle community in terms of music and being played on the radio, wow, you carved that out for us. This is a song called Like You Were Blind.
You got some words that the world would do well to hear. So speak 'em out loud now, girl, despite all your fears. And you thought your tongue got all tied, but you spoke it well. You felt your heart beating wild, but no one could tell. Oh, and you dwell on everything good, and you shape the world by its ears, and you love without fear of rejection. Oh, like you were blind, like you were blind. You got some words that the world would do well to hear. So speak 'em out loud now, girl, despite all your fears. Yeah. Oh, and you dwell on everything good, and you shape the world by its ears, and you love without fear of rejection, like you were blind, like you were blind. Oh, like you were blind, like you were blind.
Where we grew tall.
I grew up not too far from here, memories ringing in my childhood years. I had it all, where we grew tall. just like family. In every front porch window looking over me, I had it all. Where the wheat grew tall, and I hold on to every lesson I learned back then, and I hold on to every carefree day I spent. Where the wheat grew tall, where the wheat grew tall. It's where I learned about work and I learned about play. Just every sin at the end of every day, I had it all. Where the wheat grew tall, and every now and then those memories circle back around. From every tree fort I built, every creek I floated down, I had it all. Where the wheat grew tall, yeah, I had it all. Where the wheat grew tall, where the wheat grew tall. Where the wheat grew tall. Thank you, Mr. Kaler.
Janessa Kaler is Ben's granddaughter and also a former student, and she too now teaches guitar, and she's been writing and playing her music as long as I've known her. And today she'll be playing two of her original compositions, Fine and Drive.
I'm gonna paint my nails, I'm gonna color the sun, I'm gonna build a boat, I'm gonna take on everyone. Fill
This is another song that I wrote. It's more of a love song and a celebration of enjoying where you are at a given time. It's called Drive. Thankful for this opportunity to share something with you, Grandpa, that I've written out. Thank you. I've always felt it was really normal to play music. We didn't really discuss which instrument I would take as a child or whether or not I would take one. I wanted to take guitar lessons from my grandpa. And I remember looking forward to it. In the same way Dennis was saying, I had to wait until I was 8. You can't. And then I remember looking forward to that and wishing I didn't have to wait. So much of my creativity and the nurturing of my creativity in general, I believe, comes from the person that my grandpa is. If he needed a song for a specific occasion, he could arrange it or write it. There were no guitar books that I have found that have a 4-part arrangement for guitar of Christmas carols. Never mind one that has this type of music arranged for specific skill levels, varying skill levels, and he would even add instruments. There was Christmases where Karen would play the flute for the melody line, and he would arrange with the instruments that we had, and we played every year. I'm so very thankful for the passion that was your example to me. Your perseverance is something that has stayed with me as well. Music is a discipline with many rewards. I grew up playing because my grandpa took the time to teach me week after week. You encouraged me to perform. When I was 16, I recorded a CD, all songs I had written by myself, and this didn't seem odd to me. I had always played music and wrote music and performed music since I was 8 years old. I remember a particular recital, Grandpa. I had received an invitation to play in Brandon where they were showcasing those who had performed well at local festivals, and you drove me there. We went there together. And I remember, I must have been in grade 5 or 6, I'm not exactly sure, but I remember walking onto stage in a full hall. Well, it seemed full. I'm not sure how big it was, really, but it was huge to me, and it was so silent, and everything was black out there. I couldn't see the audience, and very bright on stage. And everyone was silent, waiting for me to play. And as I moved to sit down in my chair, I banged my classical guitar on the side of the chair, and it echoed, just very embarrassing. And I remember that feeling, and I remember that scared feeling you have that you messed up. But I sat down, And I played, and I think I played well, and I received applause, and I was excited, and my grandpa was proud. He was so supportive, and always has been, and I still have the song that I played on that occasion memorized. What an enormous gift you have been to me to instill at such a young age the confidence to try, to play, to perform, to put myself in front of others, to spend weeks in preparation and then give it all I have and be okay with the results, knowing I did my best. I remember times when I did not want to practice. I think my parents probably remember that as well. I thought maybe I'd quit guitar at one point and take a break. I'm not sure exactly at what age, but an age where my priorities were obviously changing. Perhaps Super Mario or Nancy Drew were keeping me too busy, to my mind. I'm not sure what exactly was going on. But I recall bringing this up with my dad, that maybe I'd like to take a break from guitar. He had a wise response. He told me, what your grandpa is giving you is something that no one can ever take away from you. And am I ever thankful for that encouragement and for those wise words from my dad and from my grandpa. The hours I have spent playing my guitar throughout my whole life, alone, together with others, in front of others, composing, practicing, no one can take away those hours. No one can take away the hours and hours that my grandpa spent with me, sharing with me his knowledge. Sticking with the lessons through all those years taught me the importance and value of investing in myself and investing in my passions. Grandpa, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for the gift you have given to me and to so many others. The gift of music, the gift of guitar. It is a gift that no one can take away.
In addition to his work as a music teacher, a performer, and arranger, Ben has been active as a community volunteer, helping to promote a love of music. Sharon Weens has served with Ben in several organizations, including Southern Manitoba Concerts and the Southern Manitoba branch of Manitoba Registered Music Teachers Association. She's here today to share a few thoughts on Ben as a colleague.
Honored guest, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, John and I consider it a privilege to be here today, and I am so pleased to have been invited to pay tribute to a remarkable man in the way that I have known him for the past 40 years, Mr. Ben Kaler. Ben, I now know that it was actually destiny that brought us together. Long before our paths crossed, I was being prepared for our meeting. Your early guitar idols included Wilf Carter and Hank Snow, who are both from Nova Scotia. Wilf Carter came from a village half an hour's drive from the town where I was born in the Annapolis Valley. A calendar with Hank Snow's picture on it hung on my grandmother's kitchen wall forever. My husband says to tell you that Wilf and Hank were considered to be local boys. Who knew? When we moved to Morden, I met Ben through Southern Manitoba Concerts and the Southern Manitoba branch of the Manitoba Registered Music Teachers Association, from which Ben retired this year. One qualifies to be a registered music teacher by writing exams on many courses, in addition to playing a specific instrument at the diploma level taken through the Royal Conservatory of Toronto. Ben accomplished all of this as a mature student. At provincial meetings, having the only registered classical guitar teacher in the province, we Southern Manitoba reps were free to practice one-upmanship. Ben was unique. Ben is a pioneer, a term usually associated with the past. According to the dictionary, the meaning of pioneer also includes a person who goes first and so prepares the way for others, or one who takes the lead in doing. In his teaching career, Ben was a futurist. Ben's teaching career and volunteerism in the arts proved him to be a big picture guy. As the parent of classical musicians, I can testify that no one goes into this field of music as a way to get rich. Ben was neither a purist nor an elitist. Our regional boards, such as Southern Manitoba Concerts, he moved within a variety of music circles with ease. When planning a concert series, he was willing to take into account the different musical tastes of others. He wasn't territorial. Ben put his love of music first to show what could be accomplished by volunteering together regionally without favoring one community over the rest. He was open to business-related concepts. Now, there's a thing for artists, such as asking for donations to help make the concert series financially sustainable and affordable for all. Now, what about a legacy? This term can mean different things to different people. I think in your case, Ben, the word legacy refers to the lifelong gift of the love of music you have passed on to the students you have taught. Educators know that music is the first learned intelligence, and the lifelong association of words with pitch is an important brain function. Some here today have seen this remarkable transformation in the elderly, as music has an incredible connection to memory. Start a hymn or song people learned 60, 70 years ago, and they can participate, singing verse after verse. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the supportive role of June in Ben's career. If Ben told me of some plan he had, and I asked her, "Is he really going to do that?" her reply invariably involved a twinkle in her eyes and a knowing smile. Ben, you are an encouraging example of the power of one. You have been committed to fostering, sustaining, and passing on your unique God-given gift of music. You have remained humble and truthful. In closing, I would like to say thank you.
Our next performer, Taya Weeb, took guitar lessons with Ben for 3 years before his retirement this winter, and she says she misses them very much. Now, I know Taya had a morning commitment, and it was a tight schedule. Is Taya with us? Thank you. Taya will be playing Brown-Eyed Girl by Van Morrison. It's arranged by Gareth Evans. Claude Debussy was one of the most influential composers of his day, but he in turn was influenced by others, including the French Impressionistic painters. You may sense that as you listen to the next piece. Cameron Friesen will play for us Debussy's Arabesque No. 1. When we planned this celebration, Ben, we wanted you to be able to relax and enjoy the program with no worries about performance. But we do love your music, and we wanted to include you in some way. And so we've turned to a video made when you performed in Morden 21 years ago. Let's dim the lights and turn our attention to the screen as Ben performs several much-loved songs.
This is Somewhere Over the Rainbow from the movie The Wizard of Oz. Recuerdos de la Alhambra, or Memories of the Alhambra, by Francisco Tárrega.
Thank you, Ben. On a personal note, I must confess that the final piece that Ben played, Memories of Alhambra by Francesco Terrega, has become my favorite of Ben's whole guitar repertoire. And when next spring my wife Myra and I travel to Andalusia and tour Alhambra, it will be a visit inspired by Ben's playing. Ben and June have asked if they might be able to express their gratitude, and I invite them to the stage at this time.
I have to make sure my tears don't interrupt my voice. That was just great. I feel very honored and humbled to have been recognized in this way. Thank you very much.
Thank you to our family for making such a special day for your dad and your grandpa.
And thank you all the performers who took part in this program earlier.
Thank you to Larry Danielson and his wife Myra for all the work they have put into this project, specifically the biographical sketch and the pictures.
Thank you to all those who put in so much effort behind the scenes to plan, coordinate, and prepare for this day.
And thank you to our care group, who will be serving us coffee in a little while. And thank you all for coming.
When Ben played at a national church conference in 1988, one of the listeners later wrote that she had experienced heaven on earth. And if you find that you are moved by Ben's music, I'm happy to say that his recordings are now available for digital download at the website. And a reminder, that is printed, the address is on the back of the program. And if you'd like to see the video performance again, it's there too. You can just go there and follow the links. Before I call on Reverend John Clausen for the last word, I'd like to say two more things. First, we are grateful to many people for their assistance as we prepared this tribute concert. You'll find them listed on the back side of your program. I would note in particular all of the speakers and performers in the program, Emmanuel Mennonite Church for providing this beautiful space that we've enjoyed today, the Kaler family who've contributed so much, and as Ben and Ju mentioned, their care group who've assisted with both the ushering and with the refreshments that will follow. And Marvin Lesser, who has been working diligently in the sound booth to make sure that all of the performers and all the speakers are audible. Wes Enns, who's been doing the videography, Rick Hebert, the photography, and also to Basil Haleka, who took a very dated videotape and managed to bring it back into digital form so that we could enjoy it today. Let's give a thank you to all of the people. The second thing I'll note is that we are planning a brief time of refreshments in the fellowship hall at the right side of the sanctuary. You can access it either here from the front on your right or from the back foyer. And if you haven't seen the display of Ben's career, please take time to look at that. And now I'll call on Reverend John Clausen.
There's one primary thought that runs through your mind when you're the last person after a lengthy and wonderful concert. This better be short. So to all the words of affirmation for Ben's musical giftedness and contribution in our community and beyond, here's my word, amen. But for those who don't know Ben as I do, let me add just a few words from a pastoral perspective. In addition to serving our community, Ben has also for many years shared his gifts in the worship experiences of our church and many other churches in places like Salem and like Eden, and he has served always with a sense of joy and a sense of drawing us into God's presence. His music has often drawn us into God's presence, and we've been inspired to worship as Ben has guided us, and I say thank you. And way beyond his musical contribution, you see, Ben is more than a musician. Ben is also a man of deep faith whose belief in Jesus Christ was evidenced in his life. He's a keen thinker who continues to want to explore what's new with a sneaky sense of humor. He's a sensitive listener and friend, especially to those on the fringes. He's a devoted husband, father, and grandfather. He's a man who cares deeply, who loves unconditionally, and with much grace. I'm honored to have known him as a church member, a deacon in our church, a musician, a worship leader, a brother in Christ, and as a friend. And so, though these words are thoroughly inadequate, on behalf of the church and myself, Ben, I say thank you. May God, the God you love and who loves you, fill you with joy, assurance, peace, and abiding presence. I invite us all to bow our heads in a word of closing prayer. We praise you, O God, for your creativity, imagination, and artistic beauty, and for the way you gift people to share these qualities in our world. Today we praise you in a particular way for the way you gifted Ben Kaler and empowered him to serve and bless so many of us. We thank you for the diligence and commitment with which Ben embraced, developed, and shared the gifts you gave him, and the resulting legacy of music and musicians. We saw only a glimpse of this legacy today. We thank you also for the way in which his faith in you undergirded his life and work as an artist, a teacher, and a family member. We invite you to bless Ben with a deep sense of satisfaction and joy that comes in knowing that you, O God, worked in him and through him to touch so many lives. We invite your presence in his life and ask you to continue to shine through him. Fill him with much joy, faith, hope, love, today and always. Thank you, loving God, for allowing us to witness your Spirit moving among us this afternoon. We invite your continuing presence as we share in some refreshments. Bless them and each of us as we enjoy them together. We pray with thanksgiving and joy and praise. Amen.